This happens to be my 15th year here at UUCA, and thank you. The first thing I did when I got to Atlanta, I moved to Atlanta, get out of the truck, and then I flew to Boston for the UU Musicians Conference. And a big theme that year was that musicians should go home to their congregations and demand that there be more music in every service. And I was like, sure, okay. So I came back to Atlanta, and I realized that we did and we do a lot of music at our services, right? Music is and has always been a central part of how we operate here, a central piece of how we at UUCA express our diversity, express our joy, how we lean into our shared emotional experiences. Reverend Bill Singford once said, "Music has carried the spiritual water for Unitarian Universalism for a long time." So, I didn't need to advocate for more music in our services. I did need to advocate for a much larger music budget. In 2008, our music budget was $6,000. And that might sound like a lot of money, but for a program this size, at a congregation our size, it's tiny. It is less than half of what we need for the program to thrive. In a typical year, I spend between $3,000 and $5,000 just on sheet music. We buy sheet music because the composers who write the beautiful music that our choir sings, that is performed on this stage, they deserve to be paid for what they do. And buying sheet music does that. There are a lot of places that do a lot of photocopying of music, and we are not one of those places. Right? That's good. It's good, right? Other things that you totally don't need to know about but cost money are maintaining our instruments. Right? We just rebuilt this beautiful, wonderful piano, and it has to be tuned and maintained regularly. It is one of the best pianos in the city of Atlanta, and we want to keep it that way. We have to fix and replace instruments and guitar strings, and we buy mic cords, and there's music stands and batteries and a whole bunch of minutia that you do not need to care about. We also love to bring in guest musicians from the community or from all over the country who share their amazing talents with us, people who make our experiences here more beautiful, who bless our community with their talent, and who also should be compensated for their art, right? Yes, this year, knowing that moving into this new, beautiful space was going to be expensive, program budgets have just been tiny. And we, in the music program, have been tapping into the music reserve, which is typically used for special events, like hiring orchestras to play with the choir, or we're also redoing the music library right now. Another thing you don't need to know about, but will make our lives better. We've been using that budget for regular general budget expenses. Next year, the proposed music budget is $5,400. It is 10% less than it was 15 years ago, and the program's a whole lot bigger. But I know we're going to have to dip into the music reserve to do the amazing things that we are absolutely going to do here in the next calendar year. I hope that this morning you will give generously to the music reserve, because the music here helps you dig into your Unitarian Universalism. The music here is a well of beauty that you can pull from when you need it. While the UUCA choir sings my personal favorite Christmas carol, this morning's offering benefiting the music reserve will be given and very gratefully received. I'm going to come over here, though. John. So grateful for all of these gifts. I promise we'll use it to make things pretty and deep and meaning and challenging in all the things we do. Let's join together in the dedication of the offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thanks, John. When I proposed this service, I didn't know my homily would end up being about two Civil War-era songs penned by Unitarians, one lesser known, the other possibly the most famous song in America. As aforementioned, the last hymn you heard the choir sing is my favorite Christmas carol. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. The text is from a poem, Christmas Bells, by Unitarian poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I love the journey that the song goes on. It starts like any other Christmas carol, people hearing bells, nostalgia, peace, and goodwill. There are two stanzas in the poem that aren't in the song. The first talks about how cannon thunder from the south drowns out the sound of carols, drowns out the peace. Then, it was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth to all goodwill. Then verses you heard, and in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth to all goodwill. Then we find our way back to hope. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth to all goodwill. That's some good stuff. Longfellow, that guy could write. This one always hits me, right? Especially when times are hard and it's hard to see the good. It's a broader spirit of Christmas, right? It's not just joy, but more like it came upon a midnight clear. These Unitarians bringing more depth of emotion into the Christmas narrative. Now for the wildest story of a Christmas song, which has to be Jingle Bells. I learned a lot about this story because last year in December, a colleague of mine posted on Facebook, and I paraphrase, "Jingle Bells was written for minstrel shows. I've cut it from our holiday program and will never program it again." I knew the composer of Jingle Bells, James Lord Pierpont, was a Unitarian, so I dove headfirst into some research, and the story is unclear at best. It's all over the place. I read a long scholarly article that said Jingle Bells was written for minstrel shows, which were awful, disgusting, overtly racist shows performed in blackface that were very popular in the mid to late 19th century all over the country, not just in the South. After learning about the cloudy story, I actually don't think Jingle Bells was written for a minstrel show. It was sung in a minstrel show 7 years after it was written. And in minstrel shows, popular songs of the day were often sung. In fact, that's how a lot of songs became popular. But learning more about James Lord Pierpont does not make him more likable. He was a scamp. He was a knave, a ne'er-do-well, a rapscallion. In the 90s, TLC would have called him a scrub. I don't think he was a villain. I think he was a selfish jerk who always took the easy road. So, brief story. James Lord Pierpont abandoned a wife and children in Massachusetts to go look for gold out west. When that didn't work out, he returned to Massachusetts to be the music director and organist at his father, John Pierpont's Unitarian Church. Side note, John Pierpont was an amazing human. On top of being a powerful abolitionist minister, he was a decorated poet. He worked for the Treasury Department and happens to be the grandfather of J.P. Morgan. Book about that guy. Anyway, James Pierpont, while serving his father's Unitarian Church and probably writing Jingle Bells, started another family in Medford, Massachusetts. He then abandoned that family and he moved to Savannah, Georgia to be the music director at his brother, James Pierpont Jr.'s Unitarian congregation, where he also might have written Jingle Bells. There, he married wife at least number 3, who also happened to be the mayor of Savannah's daughter. I know, it's like a tabloid story from 1856, right? Hilarious. Just to add insult to injury, when the Civil War broke out in 1861, the Unitarian Church in Savannah, which was vocally abolitionist, had to shut down. So when the rest of his family flees north, James just decides to stay in Savannah with wife at least number 3. He joined the Confederate cavalry and writes Confederate songs. This guy sucks, right? Right? He just sucks. But before that part of the story, at some point between 1850 and 1857, Jimmy Pierpont wrote what has become a ubiquitous piece of holiday Americana, Jingle Bells. So ubiquitous that if I go, right, I could do that in July and you would have the same thought. It's just 3 notes with a rest in between, but we all recognize it. Every single person recognizes it. We can't escape it. It's in malls. It's on the radio. It's in commercials, in movies. It is the secular Christmas song, even though it never mentions Christmas, and both congregations that claim it was performed at Thanksgiving. In Medford, Massachusetts, the Historical Society put up this plaque. It's a little hard to read, so I'll read it for you. On this site stood the Simpson Tavern, where in 1850, James Pierpont wrote the song Jingle Bells in the presence of Mrs. Otis Waterman, who later verified that the song was written here. Pierpont had the song copyrighted in 1857 while living in Georgia. Jingle Bells tells of the sleigh races held on Salem Street in the early 1800s. So that plaque, it's throwing a little shade, right? He wrote it here. It was only copyrighted when he was in Georgia. Because in Savannah, they have this plaque. Now, this plaque doesn't really claim he wrote the song in Savannah, just that he served as the music director of the Unitarian Church there. But I can tell you firsthand that the people of the UU congregation in Savannah claim the song was first performed by James Pierpont at their Thanksgiving service, while people in Medford, Massachusetts, claim that Pierpont taught the song to a Sunday school class and the children sang it for their Thanksgiving service. So much lore around what is, in the end, a cute little pop song. And truth is, it probably wasn't sung in any services in the 1850s. It definitely could have been performed at the Unitarian congregations, at social functions, maybe even taught to that Sunday school class for fun, but "Take the girls tonight and sing the sleighing song" is very risque for the day, right? Risque language, and would probably never have been sung during a church service. The song really became part of the Christmas musical fabric when sheet music was becoming super popular. Having a piano in your home and buying sheet music was the thing. It was included in a lot of holiday books closer to the end of the 19th century and the early 20th century. It's really easy to play. The melody is fun and catchy, right? I don't think anyone who hears this song is thinking about James Lord Pierpont, right? They're thinking about how the song makes them feel, the sweet memories they connect to it. For me, this song makes me think of this UUCA choir back there. We sing this really great arrangement for it that we're all going to sing together in a few minutes, and it has like the best choral bass line of all time. It's great. You'll get to hear it. Jingle Bells is the best possible song for Christmas caroling. Why? Because strangers will join in. Right? Strangers will join. They might just take their keys out and bounce their keys in their hand, which is also fine, right? But strangers will take part with you, which is a little bit of magic. Jingle Bells was one of the songs I was singing the first time I was on TV. On Star Search, no. I was I was singing in this little quartet when I was in high school. I was like 16 at some sort of holiday charity drive, and the newscaster showed up, and he put us in the background, our little quartet, singing, while 2 Rockettes stood right next to me. This is a true story. And if you're asking, Don, Did you spend like 2 hours on your busiest week of the entire year going through an old computer looking for this photo? Yes, I did. And I'm going to show it to you. If no one comments on my haircut, then yes. There it is. Couple of Rockettes. I don't know how I have it digitally. This is from like 1998. It's been a little while. So haircuts and Rockettes aside, right? We all make our own meaning out of the holidays and out of holiday songs. So for me, Jingle Bells has always brought out that Christmas spirit. Some of our Unitarian Universalist forebears added depth to our Christmas experience by writing meaningful carols, helping us, literally us, the people in this room who have significant cultural differences, connect over a broader meaning of this holiday. They reinvigorated traditions like the Christmas tree, a nostalgic symbol for many of us. They added joy to the spirit of the season. In A Christmas Carol, Dickens didn't write explicitly about ghosts. He wrote about spirits. The spirit of Ebenezer's Christmases in the past, they were warm. They were full of connection. The spirit of his present, it was cold and it was lonely. And the specter of his future Christmases, that was a spirit of fear and a spirit of dread. These beloved songs, the ones we have sung together today, songs that will be sung in services, in concerts all over the world all month, playing incessantly on the radio and in shopping malls. These songs are part of this Christmas spirit. So even for those of us who don't believe in a divine Christ child born in a manger, this Christmas season can be full of the spirit of joy, full of the spirits of peace, goodwill for all people, and even have some jingle bells.